Welcome to this edition of NMH at 1, bringing you news from all corners of Namibia, beyond the country and across the globe, all through the lunch hour.
These are the news headlines. Urban and Rural Development Minister expresses disappointment towards local authority leaders. Environment Minister Pohamba Shifeta emphasizes the need for Namibia to export elephant tusks and rhino horns. Namibia Tourism Board launches its new website. I am Diana Master.
And I am Ashwin Berry, here to bring you these stories and more on NMH at 1. In today's midday news update, lawyers representing 4 IPC councillors at the city of Windhoek, in a letter to Mayor Shade Khawanas this morning, have demanded that a special council meeting slated for tomorrow to possibly pass a vote of no confidence against the IPC-dominated management committee be cancelled. The 4 councillors, Ndeshi Hafela Laranja, Jürgen Hecht, Otili Ukule and Ben Araib, said the planned motion is unlawful and have threatened to file an urgent court application if Khawanas does not call it off. The motion was initiated by Ilse Kista of the Affirmative Repositioning Movement.
Now more news will come to you on the other side of this break. Remember to engage us on social media and let us know what you think of this broadcast as we share some community news stories from across the country on the other side of the short break in our visual news segment.
Africa Good Morning is a current affairs program that brings you the latest from Southern Africa and beyond. News, economics, sport, weather, interviews, and so much more. For any advertising or news-related queries, contact agm@synergy.com.na. Africa Good Morning, bringing Africa to you.
Getting into today's visual news clips, Urban and Rural Development Minister Erastus Utoni, on a recent visit to Siguruguru Primary School situated on the outskirts of Rundu, could not contain his disappointment towards the leaders from the local authority who failed to ensure that the land on which the school is situated is formalized. He then called upon the leaders to address the situation as a matter of urgency. Kenya Kamboe was there.
And your teachers, I can see a commitment, serious commitment, and the situation where you are operating, the environment where you are operating from, to teach our children. It's very, very, very difficult, but you are so committed. Now, we are saying we want to develop this nation. Who are we going to develop if we are not developing these kids? Who are we going to develop? Who do we expect to come and develop for us here? I'm told people came here illegally. That is what I'm told. Hence the eviction order. But I could see now the population I moved around here. The area is so big. Now if we are going to talk, I'm not trying to do anything about the court. That one is a separate thing. But I'm talking about development and the population here. Now, if you are going to evict, number one, where are you going? Do you have a land reserved where you are going to put these people? That is a big question. Because when you evict, you need to find a space where you can allocate these people. That is one question. I heard there are disputes between the town council and the community. Who are those community? My fellow leaders from the traditional leaders or authorities. I think what we need to do, we need to come together. It's a matter of
Now, Environment Minister Pohamba Shifeta once again motivated the need for Namibia to export elephant tusks and rhino horns for income generative purposes. Ogoni Hlake was there. Let's take a look.
Those countries that are in the state like Namibia, especially in Southern Africa. Because Southern Africa is where you have more than 85% of our wild animals, especially the higher species ones. They are in Southern Africa. We had to state our case to the commissions because, of course, in the European Commission, you have division there. Some are for and some are against. There are those countries that feel that they cannot allow importation of these trophies, these wild animals from Africa. Some they want to do selectively. Say in Namibia we can import this, import elephant, can allow the importation of elephant in our country, but not this country A. South Africa we can allow this, not this country. So that also boils down to the instigation of some of the countries now to instigate African countries who do not even have animals. Some they don't even have a single animal, but they come and they make a proposal to propose that Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana elephants should be downgraded to Appendix 1. That means it will be difficult for us to have trophies, to hand trophies for those animals in Appendix 1. So in some countries they might even refuse importation of trophies. Now that's the situation we are in. And that one we have made it clear because the Secretary General of CITES was there. The Secretary General of CITES, besides us, they understand our case, that we have a case, it's Namibia. We have the right as well in a convention. That treaty is an international treaty, it's an international law that regulates the international trade of these endangered species. And that is why we say you have the right to do so. You have
Tourism Board launched its new website earlier this week. It has been enriched with updated content and is intended to serve as an authoritative source of up-to-date general country information on border crossings, the missions abroad, national parks, major tourist attractions, a business directory, and as a marketing toolkit.
Maybe a summary of some of the features that we have on the website, because we don't have much time. It's just basically to touch on, we have incorporated obviously now the information about the embassies abroad, where, because now and then we get calls, people are asking for information about certain embassies in Russia or China, so all that information is now available on the website. One of the tools that we have also incorporated on the website is our business directory, which now obviously caters for all the businesses that are registered with Namibia Tourism Board. Because time and again we get calls, people are asking for whether the company that they want to work with is registered with NTB. And sometimes it was a bit of a problem because now we have to go back to the files to check if that company is registered. So now that problem has been solved by creating a website that has a database that basically incorporated in there. So visitors will then be able to go onto the website and search for that particular business that they want to work with. So all that information is now available on the new website.
Today's daily newspapers give us topical stories on the state of affairs in the country, ranging from politics and social issues. We will be highlighting some of these stories after this short ad break.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is, bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The Namibian Sun leads with an update of the one-year interest amnesty which was announced by President Hage Geingob for Namibia Students Financial Aid Fund loan recipients. The paper reports that there has been little uptake, with only about 1,500 loan defaulters grabbing the opportunity to pay off monies owed at a cheaper rate. In another story, the paper reports that the Road Fund Administration has concluded a study on the feasibility of implementing a tolling system and said data shows Namibia has sufficient traffic flows to support it. The administrator is currently heavily reliant on road user fuel levies to maintain Namibia's 50,000 kilometers of road network. Its acting CEO Patricia Kea said the use of tolling could be a necessary revenue stream as funds collected through fuel levies are expected to come under pressure, Kea added. On the paper's page 3, a Windhoek-based micro-lender has accused the Micro-Lenders Association of Namibia Management Committee members of racism for refusing black micro-lenders a chance to serve on the committee and of hiding its financial records. Frank Osagaye, whose micro-lending business ISO Finance is registered with the association, said black members are denied the right to serve on its management committee if fees are used. Members of the association are expected to cough up $630 Namibian every month. Namibian Sun has spoken to 2 other micro-lenders who chose to remain anonymous, who claim the association only benefits a handful of businesses. According to Namibia Financial Institutions Supervisory Authority statistics, the country had 360 registered micro-lenders at the end of 2021.
Now moving over to Republican front page, Namibia has just announced stricter measures on the standing ban on imports of cloven hooves and their products from South Africa due to the ongoing outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the neighboring country. Dr. Albertina Shilongo, Chief Veterinary Officer in the Directorate of Veterinary Services, says South Africa is currently experiencing 110 different active outbreaks of foot and mouth disease in the area that was previously considered their foot and mouth disease free zone, while outbreaks are now occurring in 6 new provinces. Shilongo explained that since foot and mouth disease broke out in Limpopo in South Africa in February 2019, Namibia has placed a ban on the import of fresh meat as well as animals with split hooves from the neighboring country. It still stands, she said, but the measures have now been updated. On its page 3, the Afrikaans Daily reports that Trevali Mining Corporation, the owner of the Rosh Penaz zinc and lead mine in southern Namibia, has announced that Standard Bank Namibia and Standard Bank South Africa will provide $110 million in financing to the mine for its underground approved operations. The project RP 2.0 is to expand underground and emphasizes the application of the latest technology. According to Mr. Rikas Gumbriek, President and CEO of Trevali, the mine has been advancing the process of financing the expansion for months. We are pleased to report the confident Standard Bank's credit approval and support of the NP 2.0 project in Rosh Penaz operations and expansion, he said.
The Allgemeine Zeitung reports that yesterday was International World Lion Day. The travel company Ultimate Safaris donated a state-of-the-art vehicle to the Desert Lion Conservation Trust through its Conservation Travel Foundation, and the Ministry of Environment comments on the purpose of assessing the body condition of the lions in northwestern Namibia. On its page 3, the AZ, the paper reports that the Namibia Tourism Board unveiled its new website yesterday. It has been enriched with updated content and is intended to serve as an authoritative source of up-to-date general country information on border crossings, the foreign missions, national parks, major tourist attractions, a business directory, and as a marketing toolkit. Stay with us as we continue with news from the local dailies after this short break.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. we crunch the numbers that matter, decipher statistics that shape Namibian lives, discuss smart money, and explore the impact of global development locally. Money makes the world go round, so catch us on NTV, oneup2.com, and the Facebook platforms of the Namibian Sun, Republikane, Algemeine Zeitung, and Namibia Media Holdings. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
You're watching NMH at 1. Now let's continue with our newspaper review, starting off with the Namibian front page. The bulk of the budget for the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation has been spent on its 34 missions, including 4 consulates, reports the Namibian. According to the Ministry of Finance's Accountability Report for 2021-2022 financial year, the International Relations Ministry spent approximately $762.5 million Namibian dollars in total on these missions. This is out of its $988 million Namibian dollar overall budget. Now, in a separate story, the paper reports that the government institution's pension fund is investigating how $7.3 million Namibian dollars meant to fund a private school was allegedly diverted into another bank account. The saga, which started in 2020 when the state-owned pension fund pumped $10 million Namibian dollars into Amazing Kids private school, which wanted to build a campus in northern Namibia. The Namibian reports on its page 3 that the Zambezi regional leadership of the National Students Organization has lashed out against the Caprivi Senior Secondary School's management for allegedly sending pupils home over their hairstyles. This comes after more than 50 pupils were yesterday not allowed to enter the school's premises because their hairstyles were allegedly against the school rules.
Now moving over to the New Era, residents of the Goriangab informal settlement are furious with the Windhoek Municipal Council as they allegedly blame them for the closure of a mobile police station on the outskirts of the city, thereby depriving residents of basic police services in a crime-infested area. In another story, the Urban and Rural Development Minister Erastus Uthoni on Monday ordered the Rundu Town Council to formalize the controversial Tumweneni area. Tumweneni is on the outskirts of town and came to life through land grabbing in 2018. Now, according to the New Era's page 3, the Electoral Commission of Namibia has given an assurance that all its processes are transparent and credible, including during the upcoming Swakopmund by-elections. ECN Chairperson Ausingi Kembua at the closing ceremony for the training of polling officers for the Swakopmund constituency by-elections yesterday said that no ballot boxes were open upon arrival there.
Now let's move on over to Market Watch. The fact that Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov made a high-profile trip to Africa in the throes of Russia's war in Ukraine reveals just how much Russia needs Africa. Russia is the source of less than 1% of the foreign direct investment into Africa. Substantively, then, Russia brings little to the continent. A priority for Lavrov's trip to Egypt, the Republic of the Congo, Uganda, and Ethiopia was to show that Russia is not isolated internationally despite expansive Western sanctions. Russia was also vying to normalize an international order where might makes right, and democracy and respect for human rights are optional.
We're now heading into our economic news segment, starting off with the cumulative global effects on oil and fuel prices and how they continue to place a cost burden on Namibia's livestock farming sector. Stay with us.
Careers Bistro focuses on the movers and shakers in the corporate world. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
Now let's get into our economic news. The cumulative global effects on oil and fuel prices, as well as the weak overall performance of the Namibian dollar against foreign currencies, continue to place a cost burden on Namibia's livestock farming sector. The Namibian Agricultural Union says that since the second quarter of 2021, the cost of fuel rose by 57%, feed by 29.2%, animal health by 16.1%, and vehicle repairs by 13.1%. The union says that the total weighted cattle prices improved slightly by 2.6%, a drawback in comparison to the previous quarter's growth of 10%. The increase in cattle prices is largely due to an increase of 12.6% year-on-year in slaughter prices. Weaner prices dropped below that of 2021 by 5.5%. As a percentage of the slaughter price, the weaner price fell below the long-term average of 65% and stood at 60% in the second quarter of this year. Significant decline sheep prices improved by 9.4% year-on-year, with a steep rise of 13% in the first half of 2022, while pork prices fell by 2.8%. Meanwhile, the benchmark for world food commodity prices declined significantly in July, with major cereal and vegetable oil prices recording double-digit percentage declines, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations reported. The closely watched FAO Food Price Index averaged 140.9 points in July, down 8.6% from June, marking the fourth consecutive monthly decline since hitting all-time highs earlier in the year. The index, which tracks monthly changes in the international prices of a basket of commonly traded food commodities, nevertheless remained 13.1% higher than in July 2021.
In our next economic news story, the Charcoal Association of Namibia has tasked a local company with developing a membership system to provide a better service to its members. This system is now ready and is being implemented. It will be used to add CAON members and charcoal employees alongside all the necessary details. This information is only visible to the members of the CAON. Another member cannot view the information on workers of another member. This is to prevent poaching of good workers from your neighbor, the Namibia Agricultural Union explained. However, once a charcoal worker has terminated their services, their details will be available in a separate section where any other members can see the status of the employee and also obtain work history information. CAON will contact the members who gave the information to provide photos of employees so that these can also be added to the database. At the same time, members can add all other charcoal workers. All-inclusive CAON is a non-profit association with voluntary membership. The members consist of producers who carbonize wood to charcoal on range lands, as well as members who sell firewood. The registered processors, buyers, or agents who add value to the charcoal industry or export it are enrolled as administrators to collect the levies from their producers on behalf of the Charcoal Association. The core business of the CAON is therefore to provide services to the producers of charcoal and firewood in Namibia. CAON therefore also supports processors, buyers, and agents who are enrolled in it.
That's it for the economic news. Now let's take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar relative to the US dollar has not changed in value, while trading for another one of these major currencies will now cost more. MTC stock prices have increased by 0.10%, while Namibia Breweries Limited stocks are not trading at 0.01% higher. Trustco Group Holdings prices have also climbed on the NSX. Local index is 0.03% higher than the previous closing prices, while overall index has declined. All these major commodities have increased in price with the exception of gold, which has dropped by 0.01% back in price. Now, a nationwide curfew has been declared in Sierra Leone following a massive protest. News from across Africa coming up in our next segment.
Straight Talk is a debate competition for high school learners and a spelling competition for primary school learners, mostly focusing on current affairs among the youth. Contact Zone at synergy.com.na to share your products and services. Straight Talk. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument.
You are still watching NMH at 1. We now extend to the rest of the African continent, and later we'll bring you international news from the rest of the globe. A nationwide curfew has been declared in Sierra Leone following massive protests in parts of Freetown and other areas in the northern part of the country. 2 police officers were killed on Wednesday when protesters descended into clashes between security forces and youth, demanding the president resign because of economic hardship. Women who had gathered in the city center Wednesday morning holding placards later fled the scene as tensions rose. Dozens of protesters had been arrested, police said. A health worker at a hospital in Freetown said dozens of people had been injured. In the Kisi neighborhood in the east end of the city, demonstrators threw rocks and sticks at security forces, who fired tear gas in their direction, an AFP reporter saw. Now, several protesters told AFP the security forces had also fired live bullets. Protesters were heard chanting "Bio must go," referring to President Julius Maada Bio, who is currently in the United Kingdom on a private visit. The internet was temporarily blocked in Freetown on Wednesday afternoon, according to NetBlocks, a web monitoring group. Demonstrations were also held in the city of Makeni and the town of Magburuka in the country's northern province. A press release dated 6 August 2022 from the security sector says they monitored inciting social media messages calling for public demonstrations, but no group requested permission to hold such demonstrations, cautioning against any planned demonstration, calling on citizens to go about their normal business.
Now, in our next story, security forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo are searching for more than 800 prisoners set free by armed rebels. Army and other sources said 2 police officers and 1 rebel were killed in the assault on Kakwangura Central Prison in North Kivu Province. About 50 of the escapees were recaptured. Fighters of the ADF, a group linked to the Islamic State group, are being blamed for the jailbreak, which reportedly freed a rebel leader. One report said local people stoned to death 3 ADF fighters. The group has killed thousands in eastern DR Congo.
In our next story, Kenya has postponed the reopening of school to next Monday as vote counting continues across the country following August 9's elections. The schools were scheduled to reopen today. Hundreds of primary and secondary schools are normally used as polling stations in Kenya. In a statement, Education Minister Professor George Magoha apologized to the public for any inconveniences that may have been caused by the delay, but said the government was keen on ensuring the safety and comfort of learners through this period. Last week's decision to close schools abruptly caught many schools and parents unaware, leading to chaotic scenes as parents scrambled to pick their children from schools at short notice. It could be several days before the official result of the election is known, but provisional results suggest a tight presidential race between Deputy President William Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Now, thawing glaciers in the Swiss Alps revealed 2 sets of human remains this Northern Hemisphere summer, as well as a wreckage of a 1968 plane crash that had been frozen beneath snow and ice. The full story coming up in the international news segment after the break.
3, 2, 1.
We Talk brings you community news that lies at the heart of Windhoek residents. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact wetalk@synergy.com.na. You live, we talk.
Now headlining our international news, thawing glaciers in the Swiss Alps revealed 2 sets of human remains this Northern Hemisphere summer, as well as the wreckage of a 1968 plane crash that had been frozen beneath snow and ice. They are some of the latest objects unearthed in a warming world. French climbers found skeletal remains on August 3rd on the Chestion Glacier in the southern canton of Valais in Switzerland. Dario Adenmatten, warden of a mountain hut many hikers start their ascents from, told The Guardian that he thought the person died sometime in the 1970s or the 1980s. In late July, another body was found on the Stokji Glacier near a ski resort. Luke Lechoin, one of the two hikers who discovered the body, told Swiss newspaper Blick the remains were mummified and slightly damaged, and the person was wearing 80s-style clothing. Police are still working to identify both sets of remains, according to The Guardian. On August 4, debris from a plane crash was found on the Aletsch Glacier by a mountain guide, according to local authorities. Local police said in a statement that their investigation determined the plane parts found on the glacier were from a Piper Cherokee plane that crashed on the glacier on June 30th, 1968. It is therefore possible that other pieces of wreckage may be released from the ice, police said in a statement, according to Google Translation. A growing body of research suggests that as the world warms due to climate change, many of the Alps glaciers, like other glaciers around the world, are thawing and receding.
All right. The high rate of suicide by current and former Australian Defence Force members has been described as a national tragedy after a landmark report. A Royal Commission, Australia's top form of public inquiry, interviewed hundreds of people over 8 months. It found servicemen and women are struggling with bureaucracy and a lack of support after being discharged. The government has apologized and promised to urgently respond to the report's recommendations. There have been more than 1,200 deaths by suicide among current and former Australian Defence Force members since 2001. Studies have found veterans are far more likely to take their lives than the general population. Key factors include dealing with physical and mental injuries from service, transitioning to civilian life, and interacting with understaffed and often adversarial veteran support services. The Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide found Senator Jacques Lambie was among those who shared their experiences to the inquiry in private and public hearings across the country. She told how she had written her son's farewell letters and tried to end her life after she was injured in the army and locked into a compensation battle with the government. Stay with us as we head into local sports after this break.
For news-related or advertising queries, contact irongotalk@synergy.com.na. Irongo Talk, our community, your news.
Heading into this afternoon's local sports news, the Brave Gladiators, Namibia's senior women's national team, remain committed and professional amidst the financial woes they face, Coach Paulus Chipanga has revealed. The Brave Gladiators are set to compete at the COSAFA Women's in Port Elizabeth, South Africa from 31 August to 11 September. They are currently training in preparation for the competition. This is after the team threatened to stop training due to wages owed to them by the Football Association for more than 11 months. Chipanga, who was recently appointed to the position, lauded the players for giving their best despite their financial difficulties.
Now in our next story, Namibia's men's national development team, Richelieu Eagles, will take on some of the biggest names in domestic and franchise T20 cricket at the inaugural Global T20 Namibia in Windhoek from the 1st to the 9th of September. Richelieu Eagles will be led by Namibia captain Gerard Erasmus against squads from the Shore Calanders and DP World Lions at the Wanderers Cricket Ground.
Certainly looking forward to that. Now, the first group of athletes returned yesterday afternoon from the recently concluded Commonwealth Games that took place in Birmingham, England. 2 more groups of athletes were expected to arrive back in Namibia yesterday evening. The country returned having achieved 4 bronze medals at the Games as Helalia Johannes, Christine Boma, Alex Miller and Ananias Shikongo all finished third in their respective big races. Namibia's national chess team also returned yesterday from India. They are ranked 105th out of 180 countries. Stay with us as we head into your international sport after this short break.
The Regional Review brings you news, views, and interviews from NMH correspondents from across the country. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact regional@synergy.com.na.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Now let's take a look at our international sports stories. Mamelodi Sundowns suffered a 1-0 shock defeat in the latest round of DStv Premiership action to TS Galaxy, while Kaizer Chiefs secured their first win of the league season. The midweek round of DStv Premiership fixtures kicked off at the King Swelithini Stadium on Tuesday as Richards Bay hosted Marumo Gallants. In hoping to make it to 2 wins in the trot, the Natal Rich Boys were held at home by Gallants in a 0-0 stalemate.
Now, Barcelona's attempts to establish themselves once again as a force in La Liga and the Champions League this season have seen the heavily indebted Catalans gamble with their future to enable a striking summer spending spree. A year after being forced to let Lionel Messi go as eye-watering reported debts of 1.35 billion euros crippled the club, Barcelona have spent 153 million euros on transfer fees alone to strengthen their squad, with Robert Lewandowski being the most notable new arrival.
Now in our next story, the Brazilian Football Confederation said on Wednesday it did not want to replay an unfinished World Cup qualifying match with Argentina. The original fixture in September last year was halted when Brazilian health officials stormed on the pitch after 7 minutes in Sao Paulo, alleging COVID-19 quarantine breaches by the visitors. World Football's governing body, FIFA, ruled in February that the game must be replayed in September. Now, since February, both nations have made sure of qualifying for the World Cup in Qatar. The CBF statement suggested that FIFA had already agreed with the Argentine Football Association to call the game off.
All right, that brings us to the end of your sport. And if you're just joining us, we'll bring you up to speed with the highlights from today's broadcast right after this commercial break.
Sunset News is a daily news show focusing on national headlines as well as international news. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact sunset@synergy.com.na. Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.
You're watching NMH at 1, and if you've just joined us, here are your news highlights. 2 police officers were killed on Wednesday when protesters descended into clashes between security forces and youth demanding the president resign because of economic hardship in Sierra Leone. The Brave Gladiators Namibia senior women's national team remain committed and professional amid the financial woes they face, coach Paula Shipanga has revealed. Thawing glaciers in the Swiss Alps revealed 2 sets of human remains as well as the wreckage of a 1968 plane crash that had been frozen beneath snow and ice.
Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with Diana Master and Ashwin Berry. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. That's it from us in studio. Now we cross over to our regional review segment, which takes us to the central north of Namibia with Desiree Geises, who shares the Rural and Urban Development Minister's call for municipalities to not fear running out of cash, but focus on developing their towns, among other stories. Happy Thursday.
Good day, viewers, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Regional Review. My name is Desiree Geises and I am the NMH correspondent for the Central North. Well, guys, today is Calligraphic Day. I think for that I don't even have much to say because I think the following video will tell you a lot more about this day. So stay tuned for the following video. Welcome back, viewers, and thank you so much for staying tuned. We're going to dive straight into our news segment. First, in our news segment, we did visit the Cheetah Cement striking employees. Well, if you are not aware of the striking employees of Cheetah Cement employees, or a number of employees from Cheetah Cement, did decide to go on strike a couple of weeks ago, and this was due to their unhappiness in their wages, as well as their housing allowance, their medical aid, as well as their pension. Actually, the employees do not have pension benefits at all, and thus the employees decided to go on a strike. And we did go visit the employees weeks later to see whether the employees are still there, and the employees have decided to camp outside the factory. And since then, they have been striking. They've also been said to be blocking trucks of Cheetah Cement. They've also been said to be trying to convince and speak to the non-striking employees, for them to join their side. And the striking employees did also emphasize that nothing, no arrangements or no agreements have been made in regards to their demands in their salary and in their benefits as well. And they are yet to have a meeting with the employers on Monday, where then they would know if the employers have decided to come to their agreement. Another point that I would also like to add is that the Cheetah Cement employees did review their initial application of what they did want from the strike, and they did make some amendments to that. So before, they did want a salary increase and a salary adjustment, but now they have removed the salary adjustment to be able to deal with that at a later stage. So at this point, the Cheetah Cement striking employees are only looking at the salary increase as well as the benefits, meaning the medical aids, the pension, as well as the housing allowance.
We come to us also. Maybe we did no wrong. They want to remove us.
Nothing is going to change. It's not, but it's still part of the proposal. Okay. You understand? You must.
We are taxation. Foreigners, but they put up bank and see how to. Now, I thought of owners making it.
While second in our news segment, we did visit a young lady by the name of Laura. So Laura basically runs a salon in a flower shop, actually, and Laura has been having her salon for quite a couple of years, and she also told us a bit about her journey. I think we all know that COVID-19 definitely hit everybody in a different way, and for Laura, I think she was hit by COVID-19 in a very harsh way, because we all know that when COVID-19 struck, the lockdowns as well as the restrictions kept anybody from going into or putting themselves in a position to have direct contact with somebody that they're not sure if the person is COVID-19 positive or not. So hence that Laura had a really tough time dealing with COVID-19, and she also spoke to us about why it is that she loves what she does. But that you guys will hear about later more in our interview segment, because we did have a lovely interview with her where she told us a lot about herself and her business. But as for now, just stay tuned to see some of the snippets of Laura's salon and her business, and later on in the interview segment we will dive into a little bit deeper about Laura and her salon.
Fahren wir noch in die Stadt und wir denken, wir müssen jetzt irgendwo so einen PCR-Test kriegen. Und wir fahren und da war da Stau und wir werden das nie in 1,5 Stunden in die Stadt und wieder zurück zum Flughafen schaffen. Dann fahren wir wieder zurück, aber ich fand das so gruselig, weil wir waren schon so fast, 3 Stunden vorher beim Flughafen. Und dann 1,5 Stunden vorher können wir jetzt nicht, wie fliege ich, und ich muss dann da sein. Und ich fange natürlich an zu weinen und ich bin total gestresst.
The Noorderlig publication focuses on the central northern regions of Namibia, highlighting the activities that have an impact on locals as well as the role players in economic and social upliftment. The Noorderlig is inserted in the Republican and distributed countrywide. The Noorderlig provides the ideal opportunity to communicate with our readers on what your business has to offer, not just for locals but for tourists and locals visiting the central northern area of Namibia. Providing a wonderful opportunity and platform to enhance your brand, contact Republican at synergy.com.na.
Well, viewers, thank you so much for staying for our new segment. Now it is time for us to dive into our interview segment. Like I did mention to you guys previously, we did have an interview with Laura, and she did tell us about her business. You know, she told us about the effects that COVID-19 had on her business. She told us about what she loves about this business and what has actually kept her going in regards to running this business, despite all the challenges that she faced, you know, that could have really brought her to the point of giving up and just letting go. But stay tuned and let's hear what Laura had to say.
Hi, my name is Laura Dorfman. I'm the owner of Scissor Eyes in Otjiwarongo, and I have this salon for almost 5 years now. I've been in the salon business for almost 8 years.
Tell us a bit about how COVID affected your business.
It was quite bad because we had to close down for almost like a month. So for me, which I'm working for myself, I didn't have any income for like almost a month. And then it started like slowly getting better.
Okay, now that so many COVID restrictions have been lifted, how has business been and how has your clientele been?
It's much better, has grown a lot, and people also start to do more, like not just the usual coloring or cutting, it's coloring and cutting again, which beforehand was only like the minimum they had to do. Maybe just cutting every second time coming for coloring and stuff like that.
Okay, what do you enjoy most about being in this industry?
Making people happy. If they come in here, they don't feel well, their hair has grown, the grey hairs have come, and then when they come out here, they're just happy and feel a lot better. And then it makes me feel better, or makes me feel happy for them.
All right. Where can people find you, whether that's on social media or on physically as well?
I don't have social media for my salon, just private. And then yeah, just from word to word speaking. If I'm good, they have to tell it outside.
All right. And where are you
on the streets?
Where are you located on the streets?
How do you mean that question? Sorry.
Where are you located in Otjiwarongo physically? If somebody comes to Otjiwarongo,
I'm
where can
inside the flower shop on the corner, and in the main street.
Okay.
Looking at the weather for the central north, Okahanya, Otjiwarongo, Tsumeb and Grootfontein are all sunny and very warm, with temperatures hovering at the 30-degree mark for the whole of this week during the day. The only exception is Okakarara, that is slightly warmer during the day but cold at night, with near to zero temperatures over the weekend.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact nmh1@synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
We can prevent violence against women before it happens. It means tackling the root causes of violence, working with men and boys to end power over women, which is often normalized and justified. Transforming these root causes and preventing violence needs political commitment and leadership, laws and policies that promote gender equality, investments in women's organizations, and resources for prevention work. But prevention also starts with you. You can start by educating yourself. Speak out when you get a chance. Advocate for survivors' rights and always listen to survivors. Preventing violence against women and girls before it actually happens is the most effective way of ending it. So let's start now.
We know that violence against women and girls is pervasive everywhere in the world. So now imagine a conflict breaks out, or a natural disaster happens, or a global pandemic like the one we have seen since 2020 breaks out. Institutions are often focused on addressing this crisis. And in conflict settings, some of the institutions that are responsible for protecting women's rights collapse. The United Nations and UN Women work around the world to address some of these challenges. We make sure that women and girls who are victims of violence access services, including justice, health, psychosocial support, and reintegration. We also work to address the root causes that generate violence, for example, addressing harmful social norms and masculinities.
Well, viewers, we have unfortunately reached the end of our regional review for today, and that it is from the Central North. But I will see you guys again next week. Same time, same place, different news. Bye.